3 packs of computer software accompany the programs in this series: slopes, rivers and status. Teachers can obtain full details and place orders from Mercury Educational Products, 8 to 10 Lower James Street, London, W1R 3PL.
This is Halmer End in North Staffordshire. 156 men were killed here in a pit explosion in 1918. Coal has always commanded a high price. The coalman and his door-to-door deliveries has given way to new coal-burning methods. Crushed to powder, mixed and blasted into power station furnaces, 80% of the nation's coal output goes to produce electricity. If we're to stop producing nuclear power, demands on coal reserves will be even greater. If renewable sources are not exploited and we continue to demand more power, then we need to produce and burn more and more coal and accept the environmental consequences. The only question then is, where does it come from and how is it mined? There are huge coal reserves in areas of Britain that have been mined for centuries. There are millions of tons of coal in North Staffordshire, and there are different sorts of mining activities. British Coal's open cast executive will extract 2.4 million tons on either side of this road, and they expect to uncover and make safe some 200 old mine workings as they do it. There are 3 open cast sites in North Staffordshire in the area of Newcastle and Stoke. High Lane and Brown Lees are currently producing coal. Bates Wood is being restored, having completed coal production. A 4th site is planned, close to the centre of Stoke-on-Trent.
Nobody wants an open cast down at the end of the garden. And as for the men who make those holes, they're written off as poor lost souls. But give them a chance before we're done. Let's hear how their tailors run. They're the cleanest colliers under the sun, for they're the sunshine miners. They've taken the lid off mining and let the sunshine in. There's no more crawling round in the dark, no more panic if you see a spark. It's better for the lads who work down there. No more coal dust caked in your hair, riding around in the open air, for they're the sunshine miners. There's diggers as high as a house go by, with wheels as big as bedrooms. But the mounds of earth, they baffle the sound. You can hardly hear a thing outside the ground. And they water the roads with a water cart, wash the lorries before they start. Dousing the dust, it's down to an art, for they're the sunshine miners.
What we're looking at is the established high wall, and exposed within that high wall are the sequence of coal seams and various strata that we've had to dig. The high wall, top to bottom, will measure around about 110 metres, which is the maximum depth on this site. Well, what you're looking at now really is the art of the coaling operation. The big red machines that you see are what we call the prime movers, and they remove the overburden between the coal seams. They actually load Caterpillar 777 dump trucks, and there are 18 of those on this site, and they carry approximately 85 tons of material. That would be 3 passes of the bucket, which in one grab takes about 13 cubic metres of material. At the moment, our production of overburden stands at about 135,000 cubic metres a week. The smaller machines that you see, the yellow ones, are the machines that move in closer to the seams, that do the cleaning off and the digging of the coal. When it gets within a few inches, a second machine would come along with a blade, a smaller machine with a blade, and he would scrape off the last remaining inches to reveal the coal. That coal is cleaned off eventually by a man with a shovel and a brush to maximise the clean coal content. A coaling machine then moves in and actually takes the coal seam, which can vary from 6 inches thick to 3 or 4 foot thick on this side. Once that machine has won the coal, the guy with the shovel and the brushes can move back in and take up the remaining dry coal and maximise that coal output. In the totality of the site, we're expecting to win approximately 2.4 million tonnes of coal. In order to achieve that, for every cubic metre of coal, we have to remove 12 cubic metres of overburden. We've started an initial void in that area, and that has progressed over 12 months to occupying a void of about that area. The space behind the initial void has since been backfilled and been placed to progressive restoration. Progressive restoration is delineated by that black line. So the main working is really in that area, with backfill going on directly behind us, and then an area of progressive restoration. And the excavation for coal started just left of the trees. As you can see, the area is now restored with soils up to contour levels, and has recently been seeded and will hopefully turn green in the near future. What we do on an open cast coal site is we store materials separately. The main 3 materials are overburden, subsoil and topsoil. All those materials are stored separately. What we're standing on here is basically a subsoil material that's been taken out of the main excavation area. In fact, this material was one out of an old open cast site that was actually worked here in the late 1940s. And we term this soil forming material. Because a lot of the site was dereliction, there wasn't a lot of soils material to get. So what we do for restoration purposes, we get what we call the best soil making material. And this is what we're standing on here today. And that will be saved and put back in the upper layers of restoration.
Having regard to the nature of our operations, we seek, insofar as we can do, to make sure that our proposals are sensitive in relation to neighbouring communities, and sensible in relation to the sorts of features on the site that may have some value. We look to see if there are parts of the area that could be improved by our presence. For example, derelict land. Is there derelict land that could be reclaimed? And again, High Lane is a good case in point, where there were many areas peripheral to the open cast site which were in a very derelict and degraded condition.
It's an old quarry area. What was mined here, I don't know, possibly stone. Since then, of recent times, a tip. What was tipped, I don't know, but nothing too noxious, I think. This is a lovely little site. It's lent itself very well to this sort of operation. It won't be planted, it'll be left as a grassed area for people to walk across, to stop, to picnic. So, no, I think it's a lovely little spot. Sheltered, it's already got the back cloth of existing woodland, so that it's ideal. It's putting a little bit of something back. We perhaps don't need the agricultural land that we did a few years ago. So here's the opportunity to put something back to conservation and the general amenity.
Before this started, there was a vast area there, 500-600 acres, of what had a good time ago been industrial land. Now, nature had taken that over, and it had made, in its own way, an attractive area. But there were drawbacks, there were problems. There was a dirty lagoon down there, and there was always the threat of children or animals going into untreated mine workings. When it's finished, we'll have, hopefully, a country park of some 300 acres, and again hopefully it'll link right round to the Bateswood complex, open cast complex, to make a linear walkway, and that will benefit many more people than just ourselves, but people of Stoke and the people of Newcastle as a recreation area, of which we haven't got in the area at the moment, especially on the west side of Newcastle.
Behind me there is agricultural restoration which took place 4 years ago after coaling operations. Moving round, we've got the field in the foreground which was restored 2 years ago. Beyond that, the sand-coloured area is all activity that took place this year for progressive restoration. And in the immediate foreground, where the cows in the field, this field was replaced 2 years ago after coaling operations.
We don't disguise the fact that however well we do our job, there inevitably is going to be some disturbance. There's going to be change. There's going to be increase in noise. There's going to be change to people's views of the countryside. There's going to be restrictions imposed upon what they wish to do, what they've traditionally done within an area. And we recognise this. And we hope that by our good site design, by the sort of working practices that we adopt, that we can take steps to make sure that the disturbance is minimised, that for those who have to suffer our presence for a period of time, then it's not going to cause too much upset and nuisance to their lives.
At first, I wasn't very happy about it, I must have to admit, because I thought of all the noise and the, you know what I mean, the dust. But since it's been going, I can honestly say I haven't been bothered with the bits of it at all, because most of the traffic goes on the main road.
The noise it's quite tolerable. You've got to sort of stand and listen before you're actually aware that there is a noise. But you're always aware that there is the site working.
For one thing, it scars the landscape. Another thing is it interrupts people's lives. And what a lot of people don't realise is the stress that it causes in the community where these people are operating.
The fact of the matter is that people's reactions to open cast operations are very much subjective matter. Some people are very sensitive to changes in their environment. Others, more robust, are less concerned.
People from the coal boat come and they said, well, we shall only be operating from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night until 1 o'clock on a Saturdays. Now that's untrue, they are not. They're operating these big machines that you see in the background between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. There's maintenance that goes on. If there's any really wet weather, there's pumps going, you've got lights shining all over your houses, you've got noise 24 hours a day, not 12 hours a day.
We often land up in situations where we talk about working the site, people fear the worst, we actually work the site and everyone says, that wasn't as bad as we initially feared, that wasn't as bad at all as what was considered. The problem is that we then have to move down the road and we have to look at new sites with new people who aren't necessarily going to be swayed by those opinions. There are many people who are becoming more environmentally conscious, who are more aware of their rights to apply pressure, to lobby political process, and inevitably there will be a greater groundswell of opposition to open cast operations.
Fight them all the way, because at least if you do lose, you may get concessions out of them that you wouldn't have done had you sit back and accepted what they wanted to do. I do think that you've got to fight these applications. Any benefits that there will be in the future. Whether we shall be around at that time, I don't know, and it depends what use the land is put back to. In this case, it's going to be a country park, which should be quite an asset, I would say. So possibly my grandchildren or their grandchildren, when the trees have grown to something like a decent size and all the other features have got established, should benefit from it. But myself, my wife personally, possibly not.
And we have one great fear around here, and this is what's going on with the people of Berry Hill now. And I'm wondering if there's been some sort of agreement between Staffordshire County Council, the open cast executives, whether they're going to use it. It's quite obvious that if you take 1 million tonnes of coal out, or 1 million tonnes of anything, and shift it away, you're going to have a damn big hole there, aren't you? And you're going to have to fill it with something. Now, if you're going to put it back, same as it was before, you have to go into import 1 million tonnes from somewhere. And we have a fear that it might be local refuse, used as a tip to fill in, and then put the soil back.
What'll it be like on Berry Hill? Dirt, dust, lorries and noise. Ready full of dust to make you ill. Dirt, dust, lorries and noise. A hole in the hill as deep as hell. Nobody would know if down you fell. Nobody would hear how loud you'd yell for the dirt, dust, lorries and noise. Hole in the ground for 20 years. Dirt, dust, lorries and noise. Row from the engines filling your ears. Dirt, dust, lorries and noise. Thunder of lorries going past your door. Blast some bangs to shudder your floor. Rattle out your brains with all that roar and the dirt, dust, lorries and noise. Clouds of coal dust filling the air.
I cast mine back many years ago when the pits were open over there, and it was just dust, dirt, and noise. And that is exactly what they're hoping to do with the open cast if they get the permission.
A lot of people around here work on the pot banks where there's dust. When you come home to ventilate that, you can breathe the fresh air. But if that's the open cast going to be, you know, given permission, then there'll be no fresh air here.
I can't see anywhere in Great Britain where they've ripped out the heart of a city to open cast, and that's what they're trying to do here in Stoke-on-Trent.
In March 1990, the Open Cast Executive applied for permission to extract 1.25 million tonnes of coal from Berry Hill, public open space in the centre of Stoke-on-Trent. Local residents were quick to object. The executive argue that it's their job to exploit coal reserves. Should the Sunshine miners be allowed to get on with that job profitably and safely, or should the townspeople of Stoke win the argument?
I don't trust the coal board, and I don't trust the coal board. And so if we can go back to the 1984 miners' strike, and I'm not a miner, I've nothing to do with mines, but I do know this, that the man in charge of the union, Arthur Scargill, I don't like. That's beside the point. Everything he said was true, and everything the coal board said was a pack of lies. We've got the same thing now.
Yes, but if you can already get cheaper coal from abroad, cheaper coal than you would get from the open cast anyway, what's the point?
Well, when you talk about price, I mean, the price, are we talking pounds or damage in the environment and the people living locally? And that is what the price really is, isn't it? And which affects the local people. And you can't really put a price on that.
There are a lot of people who live round and about the Berry Hill area. It's not the only open cast site that we work or plan to work within close proximity to housing areas. Locally in North Staffordshire, we have a current operating site at Brownlees, the Biddulph area, where the number of people living within 200, 250 metres of the main centre of activity, the excavation areas, the overburden mound, is far greater than exists in the case of Berry Hill. We're operating that site, we believe, successfully. I think if it were true that we cause undue nuisance and concern and disturbance as a result of such operations, then you would have more in the local media, in the local press, about the problems of existing sites than the conjecture and the supposition about problems in future sites.
Do we ever get anything the same when you start bulldozing the trees out? Are they going to put all the trees back and the hedgerows that were there previously? Is the wildlife going to come back that we used to be able to stand at this fence and see foxes going past, rabbits playing about? Is that going to come back? I can't say. I don't think you can.
It's not Sherwood Forest, it's not the High Peak, it's no national treasure that tourists all seek. It's a battered old beauty with a lovely old face, and all of us round it, we love the old place. It shows what we've been through, it shows what we've done, shows what might be lost. After all we have won, for those green fields are our bit of countryside down at the end of our road.